speak. Today we're going to be talking about making good decisions. Now, probably every one of you in your lifetime have had at some point or a moment where someone said, well, just make good decisions. Maybe a mom like, make good decisions. You know, something along, maybe your mom don't sound like that. But, you know, we have all heard at some point in time, just make good decisions. How many of us have made some bad decisions? Right. I have made a fair share of bad decisions. I want to share a couple with you today. Whenever I was little, or I guess younger, that was always not too little, but whenever I was younger, I came up with an idea, and it came from, I looked in the mirror and I stuck my tongue out, I was like, and I looked and I thought, man, my tongue is really long, it's really big, and it's kind of weird, okay? So I'm 5 years old, I decide that having a long tongue was something not a good thing to have at 5. So I knew how to, when your hair got long, you just cut it with scissors. So I went into the kitchen and I got the scissors, very sneakily, and just slide it back. I came back, I was in the bathroom, no one saw me. I looked in the mirror, set the hand out, and I went, nip. I cut a piece off. It's only about that big, but it was like, this is kind of how it went. It was like, snip. I mean, and it was like, as soon as I did, it's like, scissors, laundry hamper. And then I'm screaming, Mom comes in like, what happened? And I was like, I bit my tongue. My mom, a year ago, found out that was not a true story. She didn't know I did that until about a year ago. Okay, that was a bad decision. Okay, very bad decision. Another bad decision, when I was in college, and this is the sad part. I was in college, and I was living in a house at college, and I walked through the kitchen. I noticed it's kind of warm in the kitchen. And I look over at the stove, and there's a glass pan. You can like see through it on the stove, and I'm like, I put my hand over it like this. I'm like, that's kind of warm. This is all like in my head. And oh, that's kind of warm, huh? And I touched it. I was like, it's warm! It's warm! And my roommate Swift was like, what are you doing, man? I was like, I thought the oven was on. Why don't you look at the dials? And I was like, quicker. I don't know. And it hurt. It hurt really bad. Okay? So all of us, we have in our past bad decisions we've made. Okay, now this wouldn't be a very good example if I didn't tell you at least one good decision I made. So, other than marrying my beautiful wife, best decision I've ever made. So whenever I was a kid, every time it would snow, we get about 4 good snows a year up in North Georgia, and we would always want to go sledding. I mean, we lived in the mountains. Sledding was the bomb, and I have a picture actually. First one, if you don't mind. All right, this is me sledding here. This is actually a little bit older in life. Yeah, there's my tongue partially cut off. No, I'm kidding. But this is where we go. Now, next picture, please. Next picture. All right. So this is where we would go. Now, if you look dead center of this picture really is about where my house is. I'm up on the hill, which we'd always go to sled because it was a really long hill. And so what we would do is we would kind of, trek down the hill here. We would go to the left of our screen here. There was a tree that hung over this creek. Now the creek was a little wider than we could jump, and if we were more athletic, we probably could make it, but we weren't. So it was probably about that wide. And we didn't want to walk all the way down the road. So you see the road down? It's a long walk if you walk down the road. So what we would do is we'd walk to the tree. The tree kind of leaned over the creek, and we'd climb up a little bit of the tree, and we'd jump over to the other side, and then we would climb on up. Okay, so that's what we would do. But then we really couldn't jump back across, so we'd have to take the long way. Well, my brother one day goes, you know what? I think we can jump back over. And I was like, I don't think so. I think I want to walk together. He said, no, I said, I know we can jump back over. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. So we walked back down to the tree on the opposite side of the bank. So the tree's laying like this, the river's like this. We're over here. And we come up and I'm like, Josh, that's my brother. I'm like, Josh, I don't think we can do this. He's like, no. See, what we're going to do is I'm going to jump. I'm going to bear hug the tree. And I'm going to shimmy around and I'm going to be good. Now, the tree literally is this big, that big around. This doesn't help you. This helps you. It was this big around, okay? And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't think it's a good decision. I'm sure I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. This is not a good idea. My brother's like, oh, I got it. So my brother goes, and it's kind of like this. He gets kind of a run back, and he runs, and he jumps, and he hits the tree, and he goes, poof! And boom! Right in the water. Okay, and it's like, it's probably 25 degrees. He's soaking wet. We got this long walk back up, and I'm just like, yep, that was a bad idea. I'm glad I didn't do that. All right, so that was a good decision on my part, okay? Now, when it comes to making decisions, we have to do it daily, okay? Our decisions are very important, okay? Now, I'm not talking about decisions when you go to the ball game and you're like, do I get a burger or do I get a hot dog? This could be life-altering. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, we have decisions in our life that are really going to affect how we turn out. Like who you decide to be friends with is going to be a real big decision. Who you decide to date is going to be a real big decision. Which teacher you decide to take whenever you have options. You'll get there someday. Middle school, you'll have options one day. Who do you decide to take when you get to college? Where do you go to college? What you do on a Friday night. I mean, we have a lot of decisions that we have to make. But how do we make good decisions? Good decisions are really made by what you run the decision through, what filter you're using to decide, good or bad, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you, our filter is bad. You end up cutting your tongue off, burning your finger, and landing a puddle of water. Our filter often gets us in trouble. Our filter is often the one that when our parents tell us something that we don't like, we mouth off back. We're like, whatever, that's not a good decision. That's bad filter, okay? We got to look at going, okay, what filter are we running through? Are we running through God's filter? Are we running it by God to see what He wants to know or what He wants me to do? Or are we just doing it ourselves, okay? Now, what do we mean by God's filter? I feel like this verse talks about it pretty well. It's Proverbs 3, 5 through 6, and it says this. It's going to be up behind me, hopefully. Maybe. And boom. Yeah, all right. So, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. Okay? Running it through God's filter means that we're trusting God, we're trusting what He says, and then we're acting upon that. Okay? And I think it's important. It's not just the trusting Him in a little bit. It says, in all your ways. Not in some of your ways, not in most of your ways, but in all of your ways, trust Him, and He will make your path straight. Now let's clarify. When God makes your path straight, that doesn't mean God makes your path easy. That doesn't mean that God makes your path short. It just means your path is clear. All right? What are some examples of this? If you are in a relationship, okay, and you were sitting there and you were coming to that question that often comes up in your head, how far is too far, okay? This is a pretty muddled question. And if you sit there and you go, okay, God says do everything that's honorable. Is what I'm thinking about honorable? Nope. It's pretty clear. Is that easy? No. Is it a short path? No. But it is clear. Okay? That's what the straight path means. Okay? So, really what it comes down to, making good decisions is a sign of wisdom. Okay? Now, some of us may feel like, man, you got to be like Rafiki to know wisdom, right? You got to have cool sayings. And Rafiki's in The Lion King, if you don't know. It's like, it's in the past. Okay, that guy, the baboon. Just for anyone who still clues. We think to be wise, we got to have all these cool phrases. No. Being wise is as simple as making good decisions that are based on God and what He has in your life, okay? So you may be saying, okay, But how do we do that? How do we make godly decisions? I'm going to spell it out for you easily. One, if you're reading God's Word, the Bible, if you're reading the Bible, then it's going to be a good step in the right direction. You know, if I really want to get to know someone, I can read their autobiography and I'll really get to know them better, okay? Spending time with God will help your decision making, okay? Being around people who make good decisions. Believe me or not, the most wise person can look pretty foolish when you surround yourself with a whole bunch of other foolish people, all right? I remember as a kid, my church was a gym, basically. It was a gym, and they had lights at the top that were uncovered, I guess because they couldn't afford to cover them. But they were just the big bulbs up there. And one day, I know better than to kick balls inside and try to hit them. I know better than that. But I was in a group of about 8 kids, and all of them, for the most part, were unwise. They were like, first one to do it is the man. And evidently that's enough for 10-year-old me to be like, I'm on board. Okay, so we're sitting there and we're kicking them and we're kicking them and we're kicking them, and then luckily we all are very bad at it, so we don't hit one. But my mother comes in. My mother comes in and she's like, what are you doing? Because my mom talks like that. She's like, wait, you know you're not supposed to do that. And I was just like, oh, I did know. I did know I wasn't supposed to do that. But I was surrounded by people who all thought it was a good idea, so my judgment went, okay? It went bye-bye. When you surround yourself with people making wise decisions, you very rarely make a foolish one, okay? It all depends on who you surround yourself. And trust God fully, okay? Trusting God fully. Now, what does that mean? That means if God tells me that I should not do something, okay, I'm going to fully trust that what you are telling me to do is correct, and I won't do it. You know, if it says in the Bible that you need to watch your speech because what you say affects those around you, affects your witness for God, do not have any coarse speech in your language, and you go out and you trust God, you're not going to use that language because you go, okay, God, you know why you don't want me to do that. I'm going to trust you with it. Okay, so trusting God fully. And the last part, and I think this is key, and we very rarely go to this, ask God for wisdom. God clearly says in James 1:5, it says this, okay? And I think this is pretty practical. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, okay? And it will be given to you, all right? So when you don't have wisdom, when you lack wisdom in a situation, just ask. How many of us have ever been in a situation where we would have been a lot better situation if we had just asked? Okay? I mean, everyone's had that moment when they're like, well, I don't know if everyone, some of you probably don't have trouble asking for directions, but where guys, we may have this trouble where we go into a building and like we have to use the restroom, and you're like, I've got to go to the bathroom. Everyone knows because you're standing like this or you're doing I'm a pacer when I have to go. And it's just like, am I going to find a bathroom? I'm looking. Where is it in the store? And eventually you get to the point, you're like, when your eyes are yellow, you're like, where's the bathroom? And they're like, oh, it's at the front of the store. And you're like, no! Okay? A lot of times, our situation can be helped if we ask. Okay, God, I have no clue what to do here. Okay, God, I don't know what to say to this person that were really mean to me, and I got to confront them in class in a minute. What do I need to do? Give me some ideas, God. Asking God. It's very important. Okay? So what is the key to wisdom other than making good decisions? Proverbs 9:10 says this. It says, fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. Knowledge of the Holy One results in good judgment. Okay, now we're not talking about fear of the Lord like, God's here, look out, hide, get behind the couch. We're not talking about that kind of fear. We're talking about the fear of, some of you have this for your parents, okay, the fear of, okay, so-and-so is inviting me to their house. I have the ability to go over there without my parents knowing. But what is my parents going to think about it? Okay, I'm going to call them. I'm going to ask them. I'm going to clear it with them first. Some of you have that fear of me. Like you come in, you're like, hey, you know, I could easily sneak by you and go into the game room, but do you mind if I'm playing in the game room? And I'm like, sure, whatever, go ahead. It's a lot of fun. That fear, that respect, that going, okay, I want to know what you think about the subject, and I want to act as you would have me act. We're going to take a real quick look at someone in the Bible, a real quick look, because time's running out. David. Most of us know King David. Not this David, King David. Okay? Most of us know him, okay? If we look at the decisions that David makes, it's very interesting how it pans out his life. First great decision David makes. He is a faithful son. What do I mean by that? His father tells him, okay, I need you to be the shepherd. I need you to watch the sheep. You need to protect them from anything that comes. Okay? So David not only goes out with the sheep, he also protects them. He protects them from lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Thank you. Okay, I don't think there was tigers. But lions and bears were definitely there. But he protects them. Those are life-threatening situations, but he makes a decision. He goes, okay, I'm going to do what my father says. Okay, then later, because of that good decision, he's a trustworthy son. We're going to send you with food to go bring it to your brothers. He goes to his brothers. We all know the story. He's there. All the Israelites are kind of lining up, and then Goliath comes out, and he's like, y'all stink. I'm awesome. Fight me, and we'll get this over with. Your God is not real. Yeah, it's not quite like that, but we all get the gist. David sees this guy making fun of God, the same God who protected him from the lions and the bears. He sees that and he goes, okay, I'm making a decision right now. He's not going to make fun of my God. Because you know why? My God, the decision I made whenever I said, God, I trust you, and you'll save me from the lions and the bears, he will save me from him. We all know the story. He sits there, he goes, okay, I'm going to go fight. And he makes a decision to go out there, and he wins. And then a whole lot of other stuff happens. He becomes a great warrior. Okay, he becomes a great leader. All right? Eventually, now I'm skipping over a lot of really cool stuff. 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, read them. It's awesome. But I'm skipping over a long, long time. He becomes king, okay? He becomes king, and he is successful. He's actually king over the whole of Israel, and he kind of gets fat and happy, okay? I don't know if he literally got fat and happy, but he gets to a point where he starts making some bad decisions. Okay, springtime comes, the time for kings to be off at war. Okay, David decides, okay, you know what? I'm going to let my generals handle it. I'm just going to hang back. In itself, this is not a bad decision in the sense of like, oh, this is the world's worst thing David could do. But it was a little bad decision because it wasn't what he was supposed to be doing. He was supposed to be out with his warriors, with the armies. But he decided to hang back. Okay, upon that decision, the next decision he makes is, man, I am a king and I am bored because I'm not at war. Okay, so I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to walk up on the roof and look at all the stuff I own, from my castle, whatever, palace. And so he gets up there and he's looking. All right, second bad decision leads to another bad decision. He looks and he sees Bathsheba. Bathsheba's taking a bath. Ironic? I don't know. But she's up there, not fully clothed, and he sees her and says, ooh, I want that. And another bad decision down the road leads to him conceiving a child with Bathsheba. Okay, then this bad decision mounts up to another bad decision. He goes, oh man, Uriah's her husband, and there's a baby here, will be found out. So he tries to fix it. He tries to trick Uriah into coming home and to making him think it was his. But Uriah is so faithful. Uriah is so faithful to his king, to his God. He says, no, my men are off at battle. I will sleep on the ground outside. I will not go home. So another bad decision comes. David decides, okay, I've got to kill him. I've got to get rid of him. And so he sends him to the front line. He tells his general, said, hey, put Uriah in the front, go up to battle, pull out, let him die. And so that happens. Based on that bad decision, even another thing happens to him. The child that he was going to have ends up dying because of his bad decisions. Guys, I bring all this up to you because our decisions mount upon each other. Each decision you make leads to another decision, both for good and for bad. We look at David's life, and it was for good. He was able to take on the lions and the bears, and he was able to defeat the Goliath. But then he started making little bad decisions, which led to big bad decisions. So what does this mean for you? Your decisions right now matter. Your decisions right now for what you do in relationships matter. how far you go or whatever. Your decisions for what you do in your classes, your decisions for how you treat the people around you, your decisions for your friendships, they matter. Because each thing builds upon themselves. Now, I don't say this to say that if you've made a whole bunch of bad decisions that you can't get right. That's not what I'm saying. God is a loving God. God is a forgiving God. Okay? And He can take you from right there. If you want to stop making bad decisions, you got to go, okay, God, I'm going to fully trust you, and I'm going to run all my decisions through what you would think is right. Through what you would think is the proper thing for me to do. That's how we turn it around. So what I'm going to do, and I'm sorry for the rush, but Teresa's going to come up. I'm going to go ahead and pray. And I want you to think about it this time during this last song, okay? What filter am I using? What filter am I putting everything through? Am I going through God, or am I going through myself? Am I going through my friends? Okay? Will you bow your heads with me?